Hello there everyone and welcome to Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate for Beginners. My name is David and today we're going to be discussing the light bowgun. Since the light bowgun is a weapon designed for gunners and the vast majority of the player base are blade masters, I'm also going to be introducing the concepts of gunning to you all today within this video in addition to my regular format. It is worth noting that if you have already watched my video concerning the heavy bowgun, then you will likely notice many similarities between that video and this one due to the very nature of gunning being overall very similar. With that said, the light bowgun is the much more utility focused weapon, and it's also a bit more forgiving than its brother within the bowgun family, boasting much more speed and elemental damage than its brother, as well as having the ability to inflict a wide variety of status effects to good effect. This makes the light bowgun a great general choice for any player who wishes to stay on the move a lot while retaining their ranged advantage, or for anyone else who wishes to output a large portion of elemental or status damage during their hunts. As for gunning itself, the primary objectives of a gunner are the same as that of a blade master. Simply don't get hit and hit the monster until it dies. The difficulty begins when the fact that a gunner's defense value is usually half of that of a blade master, so more attention is needed in regards to evading monster attacks. This, coupled with reload times and recoil management, force the gunner to think ahead of what is actually happening, so less attention is placed on being reactive in order to avoid attacks, and more attention is based on three principles: positioning, perception, and planning, each of which work with one another to make the gunner truly become as effective as they can possibly be. Positioning reflects how well the gunner can essentially avoid attacks, but it also dictates their damage output as well as what they can potentially hit with relation to the ammo type that is currently loaded within their respective gun. Perception concerns what the gunner actually sees and takes notice of. For example, a gunner should be able to tell what their current target is doing and what they are likely to do after their current action is finished in order for them to exploit the situation. At a basic level, this covers knowing when to reload and knowing when you can actually shoot your target without fear of getting hit yourself. Finally, planning puts all of this information together to form a on-the-spot plan of action or strategy for the gunner to use going forward, which will likely change depending on the given scenario that they're currently in. Some environmental impacts that can influence this include the current zone size, whether the fight is on land or in the water, and also the current monster's pattern, size, and attack speed. Preparation could also be considered a principle as it concerns the success of the gunner before they even get started. This principle not only concerns the player's choice of bowgun in relation to their target as well as their armor skills, but it also concerns the ammo, items, or combined materials that the player brings with them on hunts. In relation to these principles, the light bowgun user has a few things to consider. Unlike its brother, it can sheath and unsheath fairly quickly, in addition to have a fairly quick movement speed when the weapon is out. In practical terms, this means that as a light bowgun user, the player can generally find more attack opportunities than its brother simply due to this speed advantage, somewhat alleviating the amount of attention required on the four principles as mentioned earlier, as you have generally more time to act. However, it should go without saying that like the heavy bowgun, the player shouldn't reload or shoot if they do not have the time to evade an attack, as you are not invincible because of your movement speed advantage. You will still die because of your low armor, so just be careful of that. This is especially the case if the player decides to leave the limiter on their gun on, but I will get to the reason why very shortly. Unlike the heavy bowgun, the light bowgun is fairly versatile in its terms of use, as these guns come in a wide variety of forms, usually status, elemental, or raw focus. So if the player likes a particular method of playstyle, then they can pick a gun that reflects that style in addition to their armor skills to essentially play however they like. Personally, I like to use the light bowgun primarily for elemental or status damage, as it has this advantage over the heavy bowgun with the addition of the rapid fire mechanic. Rapid fire allows the player to shoot specific shots multiple times at the cost of one bullet. To compensate for this, each shot does roughly 60% of its original damage output, so more damage will generally be done overall per shot, but the gun in turn loses DPS. Rapid fire is therefore very useful for conserving your own ammunition, and it's also very good for status shots, as per bullet, more status is being applied. So it's very good for that if you want to get the monster asleep, want to paralyze them, poison them, whatever. Doesn't matter. Rapid fire is good for this. One downside to rapid fire, however, is that it makes the player rooted until all the shots have been fired, so some attention is needed here to avoid getting hit while firing. So please pay attention to the four principles as I said to help alleviate getting hit in this stage. It is also important to note that if you wish to use elemental shots with your bowgun, or if that's the main thing you're going to be doing while using a weapon, then the affinity bonuses on that weapon are going to be virtually useless, as they only affect the shot damage, not the elemental damage, so please keep that in mind. When a gun has a rarity of 6 or higher, the player has the option to then remove the limiter. Removing the limiter will allow the player to reload all of their ammunition at the same time, allowing them to switch to multiple ammo types without reloading. To compensate for this, rapid fire gets removed and the weapon becomes a bit heavier. In realistic terms, some of the animations are changed, so the hopback animation for instance gets changed into a roll. Likewise, keeping the limiter on your weapon will in fact do the complete opposite. The player will be able to use rapid fire again at the expense of not being able to reload all of your ammo at the same time, and your roll animations will go back to their lighter form. In most cases, the limiter will remain on the weapon just because it is incredibly useful for elemental and status gunning. The one time I would personally take the limiter off the weapon is when I'm going for pure damage output with Guard's Archipelago. With the limiter off, the player can unload crag and clutch shots one after the other with seemingly little penalty, resulting in a very large chunk of damage over a very short period of time. If the player is unhappy with their choice, whether the limiter is off or on, they can simply go to the armory and get that changed at any point so you're not locked into your own decision. To summarize the advantages of the weapon, because it is a gunning weapon, reach becomes a non-issue for you and you are able to hit essentially whatever you like. The weapon is very versatile, as a lot of guns in the game not only carry elemental or raw shots but at the same time have a very good selection of status shots available to you, so you could use a bit of both and see what you like. The weapon does great elemental damage, it's a great status weapon, and because it's a great status weapon, it's a very good team weapon. So if you ever want to help your teammates by poisoning, paralyzing, being able to create avenues for your team to do more damage or do more damage yourself, you can do that. The weapon has good movement speed and altogether it's fairly easy to use. It's a great weapon to use as an introduction for gunning. On the flip side, the light bowgun generally doesn't have that many disadvantages going with it. As it's a gunning weapon, you're going to be suffering from less defense, so you need to pay attention to what's going on around you to help avoid yourself from getting hit, as most shots could kill you, especially at G rank, so be careful about that. The biggest thing to look at if you're a Blade Master is the mentality shift you're going to have to go through to use gunning weapons effectively. And finally, I guess the thing that's weapon specific is that rapid fire, if you intend to use it, which in most cases you will generally root the player, so you need to be very careful about when you begin firing to make sure you don't get stuck in case a monster is about to smash you in the face, so just be careful about that. If you are looking for a general comparison between the two bowguns, I have already done that for you, but as you can see, what was the boons of the heavy bowgun become the negatives of the light bowgun and vice versa. So altogether, the light bowgun has faster reload speeds, better elemental and stat shots, faster on sheath and sheath times, quick movement speed, better ammo conservation, ultimately more forgiving, and it is easier to learn when compared to its heavier brother. This is largely due to that movement speed advantage and the ability to think a lot more, have the possibility to act a lot more. However, the weapon generally suffers from lower attack power, has weaker raw shots, small ammo clips generally, and also suffers generally from higher deviation and recoil, so be a bit careful of this, see which one you seem to prefer, and choose your choice based on that in the given situation or what you actually need. As for the skills you're going to generally want to use for your light bowgun, this is again dependent on your gun, your intended playstyle, and what in fact you're actually going to need. However, as a general rule of thumb, I believe that you can place your skills to be a bit more aggressive than a heavy bowgun because you're not limited by your movement speed or your sheathing and unsheathing animation. So don't worry about that too much. Instead, pick skills which are very aggressive but work well with your intended style of play. So for example, I really like to utilize the elemental damage, so I always go with element attack up if I can get it, and I also have attack up large in my set as well, so I'm going to be pumping out damage like crazy. Reload speed, recoil down, steadiness, again depend on your gun and what you need at the given time. I will say that if you are suffering from fairly high recoil or even minimal recoil, the silencer attachment can help alleviate this, as applying a silencer will somewhat reduce your recoil. Experiment with it, see if you like it, if not, pick up some recoil down skills. The only other things that need to be mentioned are bonus shot and load up. Bonus shot is useful if you wish to increase the bullets you fire in rapid fire by 1. Just bear in mind that while your damage per shot will increase even further, your DPS will again suffer, and 2, you will be rooted for longer. So if it's worth it to you, and for your particular style of play, pick it. I personally love it, but just be wary of what you're doing with that. Load up is very good if you're using ammunition that is very limited, so that can be good as well, but is somewhat alleviated by using the rapid fire mechanic, but of course it depends on your situations and the gun you have, as I've said. That about wraps up this episode of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate for beginners, ladies and gents. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully you got some useful information out of it that you can go away and take with your own gameplay, see if you can improve a bit if you already use the weapon. If not, hopefully this video helped you go out there and try the weapon, see if you like it, see if you can actually get into gunning, and let me know about your experiences. But that's about it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As I've said, have a great day, and thank you for watching. I'll see you later.